Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. So in today's video, I'll be filming a Q&A. It's where I take some questions from the previous 5 videos and try my best to answer them. My niece did get these together. I don't always get to read over all of the comments and the questions, and she did put the bottom comments in here. I actually asked her to, and I've talked about this before, but weirdly with YouTube, somehow it knows what kind of the negative comments are. It's not always that way, but usually the negative comments are kind of at the bottom. So I got her to put those in, and I don't put those in here and talk about them just to give a negative vibe off somehow. To me, it's just kind of interesting to see, maybe some critique or just to see what people notice and see what people have to say. I'm not looking to for you guys then to defend me if somebody says something mean. Like, I'm not offended one bit, trust me, but I do appreciate your support. I always kind of smile when I read over some of the replies or some of the comments after a video like this, but again, to me, it's just interesting to see what people have to say, even if it's not always positive. So let's get right into the questions. The first ones are from last month's Q&A video. The first one here is Beth Shadone saying, I have a question about the paint sprayer. I could never figure out how to make the spray stream wide enough to cover a large area. No matter how I turned the tip, it still sprayed like a can of spray paint, which made the process longer. Do I need to buy an attachment or something like that to make the spray stream wider? No, there is actually a setting on the sprayer, and I'll try to take a little video clip of that up close with my sprayer and show you which knob to turn. But thankfully there is a knob on there that will adjust that. Shelley DeHart says, I forgot about the paint you made, and I'm really curious to see how the leftover paint in the jar is holding up. Yeah, I had made my own paint here a few videos back, and I just checked it this morning because I knew this question was in here, and it still looks fine in the jar. I had put it in clear jars, so I was able to shake it, and it's still moving around in there, so I didn't actually open the cap and check it, but so far so good. Kimberly Craig says, I put some fresh picked sweet corn right off the cob a couple of years ago, just like you described in the video. I blanched it, cooled it down quickly, cut it from the cob, and froze it. But when I went to use it, it tasted awful. It tasted old and stale. It was chewy instead of fresh and crisp. What did I do wrong? Well, I would say the corn was probably too ripe when you blanched it or processed it or put it in the freezer. It's always best to take the corn off the stalk when it's still maybe not as rich and yellow, just not quite ripe maybe. That always gives, I think that always makes, for the best corn then later on if you freeze it. It's funny because we actually had this issue with the corn that we did this summer. It was plenty ripe. I can't say it tastes awful, but it is more chewy than fresh and crisp. And you put all that work in, and it's that's really important to make so it's not too ripe. So I would say that is probably what is wrong with it. I definitely not give up. Try it again and just try to get it a little quicker. Kay Fick says, how did you fasten your mantle to the wall? I just put screws in. Lynn Castile Butler says, question, what are your favorite white paints? I really like Spectral. I know I talk about that a lot here on this channel, but that so far for years has been my favorite white color. It's more of a gray undertone, not as much, your beige or cream, although I do like some of those too. In our living room, we have a color called Darling Dove, which is more of a kind of a beige undertone. And in fact, I even have those together in one room. Like some of the walls are Darling Dove and some are Spectral, and I like the look. Like, I like to combine my whites. You don't necessarily have to have everything matching. And then I will also use just the ultra white just off the shelf. Do It Best brand paint has one that is called ultra white. It's a little more of a stark white, so depending what I'm doing, I don't really want that much of a white color, but again, yeah, Spectral, to me, you can't go wrong with that. So the bottom comment from that video is AAG saying, as an American married to a Chinese man, I found that question about home decor very offensive. There is nothing wrong with products from China. It's all in people's heads. American propaganda at its best. I think I made a comment about maybe something about selling or buying something that is, maybe from Etsy. Usually it's going to be your, handmade or homemade, and maybe not some product from China. I think I made that comment, and I apologize for that. I shouldn't have done that. I think we do, too quickly just assume, since a lot of our products here in America come from China, they're not, as good products, and that's, opinion to begin with. It's not, I'm sure not everyone feels that way. And I think it is something with, I'm sure every country feels that way, like it's something about just buying something that was made in your own country. I guess we have that pride or something, you know, to kind of back that up, but I do apologize for that. I probably shouldn't have said it. The next questions are from the picket fence video. The Faithful Farmer Mama says, we were just curious, did you go to college for business or for any type of art-like degree? No, I did not. In fact, you guys know I grew up Amish, and with how the Amish do, they just go through 8th grade. I'm always kind of embarrassed to say that, but I might as well embrace it. It's just the way it is, and I always like to think there's other ways to educate oneself besides, you know, just through school, although I know it's so important, but that is the only education I have. Mary Justin says, what did you use to keep the handle from moving on the tote? Also, may I ask what font you use for the Cottage sign? Yeah, to the handle on the little wooden crate, I didn't get a video of it, but I put pins in the ends just with my little nailer, my air nailer. I just put a few pins in there to hold that in place. And then the font I use for the Cottage sign, I'm pretty sure that... As I was editing this, I realized I gave you the wrong name. The font for the word cottage on the sign is Bombshell Pro, it's called. The rest of the words, I'm pretty sure, are Calibri font. Kathy McCree says, I am new to a compound miter saw. I just recently picked one up secondhand. I noticed you put a V shape where you want to cut. Great idea and easy to see where you want to cut. Do you then cut to the right of your mark? I know the blade takes up space. Yes, very observant there, but I do use V's when I make my cut. That way I know exactly, you know, where to cut. Like I go by that little point in my V. And you also have to allow for the blade. So it depends, you ask if I cut on the right of my mark. It kind of depends on which part of the wood that I'm cutting that I'm going to use, but yeah, I definitely kind of eye it and make sure my blade is, you know, either to the right or the left of that pointy V if I want to get really precise. Joyce Pryor says, where did you learn all your skills? I am just self-taught. Like it's basically just watching, as a little girl, watching Dad in the shop, and then probably for the most part my husband. You know, I really took an interest in, I probably mentioned this before on my channel, but even as a little girl, you know, I'd play out in the woods with a handsaw and build things. I wish I had that picture handy. I have one that someone took from me once where I actually built a little house or a shelter of sorts just using old logs. And in that case, you know, I didn't use any nails, or, well, yeah, I might have used some, you know, hammer and nails, but I just used a handsaw to, you know, cut my logs. And I always enjoyed building things, and I was always just, you know, satisfied and interested in just watching people do it. That's kind of how I learned. And I'll never forget the first piece of furniture. I probably talked about this before, but the first piece of furniture that I actually took a power saw to, it was a circular saw that I used, and it was so scary. Those are one of the most scary ones to begin with. Probably shouldn't have started out with that one, but I had a chest of drawers that was, you know, a 6-drawer, you know, chest of drawers, and I needed a coffee table for my dining room or my sitting room. And I decided, I began eyeing this coffee table, and I thought if I just cut off the top 2 drawers, you know, leave the top as it is, I'd have a coffee table. So I took the circular saw to it and just literally cut it off, you know, from the stack of drawers, and I had my coffee table. And to this day, I still have that. I should go get a picture of it and put it up on the screen here for you in case you're interested in seeing it, but I don't think I'll ever get rid of it just because it was my first piece. But I remember it was during the day, and I was a young mom. I think Kenny was only, you know, maybe 4 years old or 3 or 4. And I was out in the shop, you know, using this saw. And I think the neighbor lady, she was always really concerned about what I was doing in a good way. But she came up to see what, like, who was there, like who would be there during the daytime, you know, cutting with a power saw. But I had to kind of explain to her what I was doing. But I think she thought I was probably kind of crazy. But it was so much fun, and I didn't stop ever since. Lydia Alacron says, do you ever encounter termite infestation? I'm always hesitant to pick up old wood when I see it on the side of the road. I can't say that I've ever really had, you know, termites. I've had, you know, sometimes I'll hold up a board, like an old wood, you know, piece of wood, if it's filled with even those pill bugs, or just, you know, that kind of grosses me out. So sometimes I won't use a piece of wood because of that, but, you know, again, can't say I ever had the termites. I'm sure I wouldn't use it if I see any. Cynthia Amatrano, probably not pronounced correctly, but she says, when people give you these construction materials, do you ever gift them back with one of your many treasures you created from their materials? Actually, I do. In this case, for the picket fence, I got it from a local Amish lady, the whole stack of picket fence, and they didn't want anything for it. I always feel bad to not, give something, so I'll usually do that, like give, just make something with it. In this case, I told her to just pick, what she likes, or a couple things even, and she liked the cutting board, so I'll probably gift her with a cutting board. Cynthia Henson says, since you wear open-toed shoes, I always wonder how many times you have dropped things on your toes. I don't wear open-toed shoes outside at all, too many critters. Oh, I love my flip-flops, and I can't think that I ever dropped anything. I mean, it happens sometimes even in my kitchen. It doesn't necessarily have to be, on the outside or in the shop, but I think we all drop things on our toes every now and then, but I can't say that I've had that issue with, being in the shop with flip-flops. The bottom comment is Julie K saying, safety glasses, XO. Yeah, I know, I should probably do better with that, wear safety glasses for every little cut that I make in the shop. The next questions are from the grapes video, where I made the grape juice. The Latina next door says, can you share other fruits you can use with this to make other kinds of juice? Yeah, I've never done a lot of other ones, but we did do apples just recently where we made apple juice. That turned out really good. And then you can also do, all kinds of berries. I think I've done maybe raspberries or blackberries in the past. And I'm thinking I did tomatoes one time too. So anything that is you're able to juice pretty much, I think you can do that. Now I've never tried like a hard vegetable like carrots or that sort of thing, but be curious to see if that would work. Shannon Hendricks says, this may be a dumb question, but can we use the juice as we normally would to make jelly? Not a dumb question, and absolutely, yes, that would be ready to make jelly or jam with, that juice. It's very pure and rich, like it's, I think I mentioned in the video, most people would probably add, at least half water to the juice that I made, the grape juice, but we really like it strong, and for myself, I like to add a lot of ice, which that will, dilute it some, but it would totally be delicious to make, jelly with. Old Bookworm says, why would you decide a pressure cooker is preferred over a water bath? I don't understand. I actually had to do research about this a couple years ago when I posted my first video on how I was canning something. Was it chicken broth maybe? And I got so many people told me, it's not safe to use a hot water bath. And we always did that at home. We never had a pressure cooker. And I remember having some cousins maybe that had one, but to me it was always kind of scary because I know you really have to watch your pressure, it could even explode. You have to be safe with it, with anything too. But so I did some research, and I guess, there's a bigger chance of getting, bacteria into your food if you use the hot water bath. But for me, my rule is if I open my jar, a year later and it's not sealed tight, like I know how hard it is to pull up those lids, and if it's not hard enough for me to pull that up, I won't use it because I know it's probably not, sealed anymore, but for the most part they stay sealed. I don't have issues with that, but every now and then I'll have a jar that isn't sealed correctly, but I guess that's why it's just not as safe. The bottom comment from that video is Crystal Swope saying, I couldn't see the video very well because it was dark in your kitchen. Oh, I'm sorry about that. You guys know how I hate that when my lighting isn't just right. I can't remember how that video was. I probably was a little dark, or you wouldn't have mentioned it, but I probably should have added a light or so. The next questions are from the garage sale video. John and I had gone garage sailing. It was so much fun. Gina Rhodes says, so fun to go garage sailing with you and John. Love everything you purchase. Can't wait to see what you do with everything. And I do have plans to work on some of those things this fall. Hopefully, while the weather's still nice, I want to kind of repurpose some of the items that we found in the sales. I love the wedge sandals. Very flattering on you. Was curious what brand they are. Well, thank you for that. I love those sandals too. I've actually had them for a number of years, and they are very comfortable. That's why I chose them to wear to go garage sailing. I knew I'd be doing a lot of walking. But yeah, the brand is, I think, Baretraps. I'll put the name on the screen. I had looked before I came down, and now I have to, I'm kind of second guessing myself. John Lindsley says, we also live in Ohio, and have you been to the Springfield extravaganza? Yeah, a couple of years ago we went with some Amish friends down there to Springfield when they had that, and you're saying it's September 17th through the 19th. and over 2,000 vendors. I remember how huge that place was. It took a while to walk through everything. It almost reminded me, I've never been to the country living fair, but I've seen, you know, videos and pictures of it and heard about it, but yeah, it almost reminded me of that. But yeah, that's definitely worth it to see if you're at all, you know, local or from Ohio. You could visit Springfield Extravaganza. Linda Nave says, one question, who was filming you all when you were walking together into the old-time pottery store? Just curious. Yeah, we actually had the camera up on the dash of the pickup to film that, to get that clip. It always feels kind of weird and fake to do that, like you're, you know, filming something and then you turn around and run back and get the camera. But that's really the only way. You know, you don't have, we didn't have a third person with us to do any filming, and I kind of like to capture some of those moments. Zen and Me says, I have a random question. Do you ever worry about Pebbles getting closed in one of your shops? How do you know if she is hiding in one before you close the doors for the day? All kitties are so curious. How do you keep track of where she is? Definitely, you know, cats, obviously, but yeah, we have had a few times that has happened, sadly. I always feel so bad, but thankfully we do have a really good routine, I guess you'd call it, around here. But in the evening, we feed our cats like crunchy cat food all the time, but the only time they get the canned cat food, which they love, is in the evening, like before I put them, you know, down for the night. We don't, we always put them down in the basement. We don't want them up in our house like during the night. I guess I'm weird about that. I just don't want to be disturbed. So I'll give them canned cat food, and they know, like, they're programmed. They know what time they're getting that cat food. It's actually pretty amazing. They're really smart in that way. But if she isn't, you know, doesn't come around for that cat food, that would really alert me to, like, she's stuck somewhere, because she lives for that. Like, she loves that cat food, and actually both of them do that. So I've had times where, you know, she hasn't come around, and then I go out and check the shops, and, you know, sometimes I won't find her, but there's been a couple times where I found her. And she's also been, she loves our upstairs storage. Our storage upstairs is like the crawl space is kind of like an attic space. And she'll go up there and just stand by the door, and she'll want to be let in there. For some reason she likes, yeah, the storage. And we've had a couple times where she's been trapped in there, and it's, you know, my fault. I just have to remember, like, where she's at. And I always feel so bad when that happens, but I've even had a couple times where she's, you know, meowed loudly to let me know that she's, you know, stuck somewhere. Martin Hitch says, here in the UK, it is against the law to use a handheld phone while driving. Isn't it in America? I'm trying to think, was John maybe on the phone when I took a clip of him driving? But yeah, we're on the phone. That's when I do all of my phone calls, when I'm driving. I do know, I think in some states here in America, it's illegal to do that, but as far as I know, it's not in Ohio. Correct me if I'm wrong. The bottom comment from that video is Anne Lefebvre. I'm not sure is that pronounced correctly. I really like your channel, especially your redos of the Trash to Treasure segments. What drives me crazy is your monotone voice. Every sentence or each sentence is the same tone without showing any changes. But I think you're fine and lovely and very talented. Well, thanks for the compliments and the critique. I appreciate that. I do agree with you. I've said this before, but when I edit my videos, I'll never watch them again. Like, I get so tired of hearing my voice, and maybe it is because I kind of have a monotone voice. I can't really change that because it's just how I am, I guess, but I can see that would kind of drive some people crazy, I'm sure. But if I'm honest, though, I've tried to watch maybe some YouTubers that have such a fake, excited voice that I guess I don't like that extreme either, so I'm probably the other extreme of that. But yeah, I apologize for driving you crazy with that. I guess just, you know, turn the volume down. The last questions are from the fall front porch video. Brian and Tammy Olsen-Pell, I feel like I've seen that name before here on the questions, but they're saying, how do you do that? Like, how do you just come up with great ideas and put them together in only a few minutes? Now, I think that fast forward motion in my videos kind of throws people off because it takes me longer than a few minutes to, you know, make things, but I always wish I could work that fast. But they go on to say here, does your husband ever help you come up with these creative ideas, or does he just let you have your creativity with no input? He actually has started to, I noticed since he's been working here at home, you know, helping me, he started to kind of eye some old wood and maybe have a few ideas of his own too, which I love that. I always like to, you know, have second opinions or ideas on things. And I do get a lot of my inspiration from Pinterest. Often, you know, I'll see something on there that I like. I won't always make it exactly like that, but it kind of gets me to thinking, you know, oh, I could do that. So I feel like it's so much fun because we're, you know, here for each other, like kind of, you know, inspire each other and share ideas, and it's just a lot of fun. Gloria Johnson says, what will you do with the pumpkins once the season is over, or they have begun to look not so fresh? I will just toss them on my compost pile. I thought already about saving some seeds. Like every year I think this, every fall, when fall comes around, I wish I would have done this, like actually planted some pumpkin seeds, maybe down in the meadow somewhere, and just see if I can, you know, raise my own, because I end up, you know, spending some money on them, and I feel like it's something I could probably raise, so I should probably save some seeds before I just, you know, toss them out. S says, is that window box, which is, yeah, it's a giant wooden planter there on our patio, is it entirely filled with soil, or does something take up the bottom? I actually put some things in the bottom, some old, like those containers that your little flowers come in, and even some flower pots that I wasn't using anymore. I put those in the bottom just to fill it up, because I felt it wasn't necessary to have the whole thing filled with soil. It would have taken a lot. Ruth Martin says, your porch looks beautiful and your ferns are so pretty. Well, thank you. Do you keep them over winter? I don't. I wish I had room for them that I could, because I know some people do that, and I think my sister Marlene has done that already. But they are very messy. I know that. And they take up a lot of space, so maybe someday if I'd ever have a room where I could, you know, do that, I'd maybe try it. Rhonda Butler says, I bought the Norwex window and EnviroCloth. Friends, they are magic. It changed my life. Do you use any other Norwex products that you would recommend? The window cloth and the EnviroCloth combined are my favorite Norwex product. I've mentioned that before. It is like magic, I agree. If you don't have that and you want streak-free, clean windows, you got to try it. I have a Norwex link down below in the description box. I'm not a distributor or anything, but it's one of my friends' links. And as far as other products, I like the mop. It comes with a wet and a dry pad that you can use, and then also I have that paste. I've showed it before on my channel. I don't use it a lot, but just now and then if I have a stain that I want to get off, or it really gives a fresh smell to the kitchen especially. I like to use it, maybe the bathroom, like on the countertops. I don't use it weekly, but I like to have it on hand. And I'm trying to think if there's any other. I've tried their bath towels. For me, they're probably not my favorite, but I know a lot of people like them. I feel like I'm missing something. I do use their laundry detergent, which, it's required that you use a certain soap to, wash your cloth. So I do use their laundry detergent. I don't, it's kind of pricey, but I don't use it a lot. I just use it for Norwex products, so I don't, go through a lot of it. Marianne Worley says, where did you get the t-shirt with Philippians 4:8, a favorite verse of mine? I actually was gifted that from one of you. A friend from Pennsylvania sent me that shirt. I love it. It's also one of my favorites. Angie Lewis says, which I don't think this is a question, just a tip here. I thought this would be interesting to mention. If you put a couple of tablespoons of Bragg's apple cider vinegar in your sink fountain, it will keep algae growth down and less cleanup later on. I kind of like that tip. I think I'm going to try it because I'm always dealing with, every now and then I'll have to clean my fountain because it gets, kind of green and dirty. I thought that was a pretty good tip there to try. The bottom comment from that video is Laura Wise saying, why does anyone hit the thumbs down button? What is not to like? Well, thanks for that. I appreciate it. I've noticed already sometimes when I'm watching YouTube videos, I've accidentally, just by accident, hit the thumbs down button for someone, and I'm always horrified when I do that because I didn't even mean it. So I think that can happen too. And I'm sure there's some people that, don't like the video, which that is fine if they don't like it, to hit the thumbs down. I'm not offended at all. So that concludes today's questions. Thanks for hanging out with me down here. It's so peaceful and pretty. The sun feels really good. It was kind of chilly this morning, although I probably have to move because it's starting to shine in my face here. But we're having some beautiful weather here in Ohio, just blessed with nice fall days. I told myself I'm going to enjoy every one of them because I know it won't last that long, sadly. I did want to mention a fun video that I have coming up. I think a lot of you might be interested in it. I get a lot of questions about this, is how can I repaint my kitchen cabinets? And the summer I had repainted a kitchen for my niece. She got married in August, and I had repainted there, actually the whole house, which my parents had helped me some with that, but I had redone the cabinets and really, took a video of that step by step, on how I did that. And that will probably go up either next week or the next, not quite sure. I'm, working on it, and I do have some other fall decorating videos that I want to stick in here too, so I'm never sure, what should come first, but soon that video will come up. So if you're thinking of redoing your kitchen, make sure to check out that video because it is holding out really nice. I actually did something a little bit different that I've never done before with kitchen cabinets. Years ago I used to paint for other people where I did whole kitchens, repaint them, and I just tried something different. I guess I felt I was able to do that since it was a relative. I guess they were kind of my guinea pigs to try this out, but it ended up turning out quite well, and it's holding up nicely, which is always awesome. As always, I hope you're having a great day. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.